of Stephen Jones' talking points out here is that it's hard to pay the quarterback, wide receiver, and edge rusher at the top of the market and still build out the rest of the roster. At 877-881-1053, Franklin Injury Attorney text line. I just don't know if they know how much they're embarrassing themselves on multiple levels when they continue this talking point. Is the objective to put pressure on the players? To make it look like, well, it's not our fault we can't keep your favorite players. They're greedy. Is that what they're doing here? Why do you talk about this kind of stuff, Brian?
Man, I've kind of gone round and round about this because I'm from the school of I'm going to pay this quarterback, and now it's my responsibility to build the team around him. But that's a personnel guy's way of looking at this. It's probably not the right way of doing it because I've lived without the quarterback. As a quarterback, I mean, I don't know if the quarterback could play any better than he did last year.
Okay,
I'm just saying, right, I don't have a great answer for you because I've lived without a quarterback and I got fired.
Well, yeah.
But
the premise is you can obviously pay a quarterback, wide receiver, and defensive end at the same time.
Sure, and that if you're saying that, yeah. See, I never ever got involved with the cap stuff, and I was always trying to find players. I was trying to find so you could have 4 or 5 guys to sign. But yeah, they're. I see. This is why I'd like to talk to Jerry if we could sometime about the. He's talking about, he's throwing it out there about the, I know things. I know, why did anybody press him? What do you know?
Yeah.
What's going to happen with, are we really is the cap going to go up a lot? Is it not going to go up? I mean, give me a reason why. Do you know in the future that television revenue is going down? And if it's going down, we can't afford to pay the players, and we're going to not be caught up in all that.
And do you know something that the other owners don't?
Because
the Eagles have a quarterback that makes the same amount and 5 other guys making $20 million or more. They've been in the Super Bowl twice over the last 6 years and won one of them.
Exactly.
So, I just don't know if they understand how incompetent it makes them sound.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, are you kidding me? It's like, you got 8 other positions you got to worry about on the football field. You're worried about you can't get more than two of them at the same time and pay them top of the market money and still have the salary cap work. I mean, it's patently the most ridiculous idea.
Have the Eagles had more misses of signing their own, or have the Cowboys had more misses of signing their own? You know what I'm saying? Misses of Zeke, Gallup, Smith. Have the Eagles had the similar?
I don't think they've had whiffs like that.
I don't off the top. I mean, Carson Wentz.
Okay, Carson Wentz. Okay, there you go. But have they had others? And I'm trying to just off the top of my head.
Certainly not a laundry list of guys. I can only think of
that's
Carson Wentz.
That's where I'm thinking that maybe they're in a bind because of some of the whiffs. Have the
reason they're in a bind is because they spread out the process over 8 years and paid a little bit extra every year for 8 years, and ultimately it created this snowball effect that lands right now. Yeah. What the Eagles do is they spend way too much in a 1 to 3 year period and go for it and then repair their salary cap. They're on like a 3 or 4 year cycle where the Cowboys spread it out so long because they want to make the playoffs every year. Again, making the playoffs is their number one priority, Chief.
Yeah, and I think generally, too, they're waiting to the last minute to where the market has now gotten to a point where it's super high. If you would have paid Dak a little bit earlier, then it wouldn't have been as big a number right now. If you could have found a way to, on some of that stuff. And then the guys that they have tried to get ahead on, they were just misses, like Jalen Smith.
There's a reason they want to sign now, Terrence Steele, and hopefully Steele bounces back, has a good year.
See, the thing about it, though, too, is I think they're dealing with a son of a bee with Dak Prescott's guy.
Yeah, they're good.
They are.
That's where, I mean, man, just me, and I'd love to ask somebody this question, and I know you guys that are 500 yards away from us that are probably listening to our show right now that doing all the cap stuff, front office stuff, I'm sure they're listening right now as we're talking. I wonder from you, did Todd France changing agencies affect your deal to get a deal done?
The first time around with Dak?
Yeah. That they caught their quarterback, the most expensive piece you can have. Did they catch that one at a wrong time where you had an agent that was switching agencies and didn't want to put money with his old agency?
I think that's a great question because they could be paying for that now, right? Because maybe they wanted to try and pay, they couldn't, and now by waiting, they realize, like, hey, waiting benefits us. Well, we're going to get more money by waiting. Why should we sign early?
I wonder if France making them wait has escalated this to making him a $60 million player.
I think it has, but they've done some other great things with this organization. How they negotiated the Tyron Smith deal, how they negotiated Tank Lawrence down. He's like a super underpaid end right now. I think they've done some good enough things that you could say a lot of that stuff has washed itself out. They have made some significant mistakes, but I think the other point I want to make here is they have done such an amazing job at accumulating talent. It's a blessing and a curse, I guess, to have to pay 3 different guys around top of the market money. And then if you throw in on top of that, we've also managed to draft so many other good players that now we're having to make tough decisions, and we had to let some of them go. You had such a built roster for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And you couldn't get past the wild card. You can't have all those things be true and then also say we love this coaching staff and love this quarterback. You have had such an overloaded roster of talent. Now you're in this really difficult spot. How are we going to pay CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons? Oh, no, poor us. We had way too many good players for the salary cap. And at the same time, you can't even win a damn home playoff game, dude. To me, that's the toughest question this organization needs to answer, and I just don't think that you could possibly have a good one.
Do we have if we had an answer for the playoff problems, we'd have said it by now, wouldn't we have?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
does anybody,
there's a lot of issues. They're
can't
not just
stop the
one
run.
thing.
Can't run.
There's always a different issue that
Not
pops
good
up.
enough.
quarterback not good enough.
Your defense
wide
performs,
receiver
your
pouts. Yeah,
bad call doesn't go your way.
I can't
in their mind, they've been all in. They've really gone for it, and their roster couldn't even get through the first round of the playoffs. Mm. How am I supposed to have anything but cynicism about their ability to finally get it done?
As a fan, you absolutely should.
Yeah.
And to me, it's kind of like if I could point the finger to this is the reason why they've lacked playoff success, and I could fix it. Then I would probably feel better about. But I don't know. I mean, the low hanging fruit is to blame Jerry Stephen in the front office.
But that's the answer.
That is the answer.
Yeah.
Okay, that is the answer.
They're not putting enough talent on the team to win.
It's the head of the snake.
No, wait a minute now. No, wait a minute though. There's not enough talent on this team to win.
No, they win all.
I disagree with you on that. When you look at the overall, you had 4 players in the top 20, didn't we?
Yeah.
Didn't we just have 4? And
they're
say
good
what
at finding stars.
Say what you want about the top 100.
Arbitrary as hell.
I'm with you. If I'm using that as an argument, shame on me. But it's something we do talk about. They put 4 players in the top 16.
Yeah, I think talent-wise, you looked at the NFC last year, and they were number 2 behind San Francisco. I mean, I think and they beat the Lions head-to-head. Granted, it took a call going your way to make that happen. I think you looked at the Lions and said their offensive line's great, so maybe we think they're a better team. But going into the postseason, we thought it. I know I did. It lined up perfectly. You're getting 2 home playoff games. You're undefeated at home in your last, what was it?
You beat Green Bay, Detroit. You're on your way to San Francisco.
Yeah, it was like San Francisco might be the only team you just can't get over with. So, talent, I think they were talented enough to definitely make a conference championship game.
Yeah, but they have a
more talented than Green Bay, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they have a good quarterback that they think is great, and they have a good coach that they think is great. And so they're building a roster and they're cutting corners on it in hopes that they're what they believe to be a great quarterback and coach duo can make up for. And unfortunately, they've misevaluated their coach and their quarterback. They're both good or above average, but they don't have a roster that is good enough to make up for the fact that they don't have the best coach on the field more often than not, and they don't have the best quarterback on the field whenever it's in a win-or-go-home postseason situation.
So, to me, then, what you're saying is the problem is the head coach and the quarterback, not the front office.
Well, the front office is the one that's determining their good coach is great and their good quarterback is great. And so that's a front office issue.
Yeah.
No, I understand. Yeah.
I mean, I think they have a lot of really good star players now, but that's how they rebuilt in 11, 12, and 13, where we strip away a lot of the fringe starters and a lot of the depth, and we try to still make the playoffs because in our down years, we still want to be able to make the playoffs. They should be using these years to totally purge the system, get good draft picks, and set themselves up with a salary cap spot where they could come out hot in 2026 or 2027, and that's a way you could win big with Mike McCarthy.
Well, maybe that's what you're going to get. You're going to get your wish because maybe they're not going to sign the quarterback, and maybe Mike McCarthy's done when this thing is 9-8 and doesn't get in the playoffs.
If they do that, and it would symbolize a major shift in philosophy, I would love it. That'd be exciting.
You don't trust them to draft a quarterback. Right,
right,
no,
right.
They
And Dawson doesn't trust him to hire a head coach.
No.
Correct, and I think that's completely fair.
Yeah, but there's a chance that you could get one of those two that could be transcended. I know where this hamster wheel to nowhere is going. It's the Joneses building teams to win the NFC East that really have such major flaws when you get to the playoffs. And all along, they're going to convince themselves they're all in and they're doing everything in their power. Meanwhile, there's always going to be 2 or 3 teams that around trade deadline are like, crap, we don't have a running game and we don't have a linebacker. And they're going to go out and legitimately plug those holes.
Well, they went out and got a receiver. They gave a first-round pick to go get Cooper.
Well, what's their excuse for not plugging those holes?
Salary cap.
Right.
Yeah.
And
okay.
they love their draft picks.
Well, but the salary cap. Maybe that's something you need to look at.
Yeah.
All 31 other teams seem to kind of find a way to maneuver things around.
Yeah.
Maybe who's running the cap, maybe you should look in the mirror and we need to do a better job there.
That is a great note to end on, Brian. I'm sorry I didn't mean to cut you up.
No, you did. You did it on purpose, you jerk.